This is how dedicated we are, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 11th of August. If you haven't looked at the weather report, check it out. We had a monsoon this morning, started about midnight. Holy shit.
We go from drought to flood in about 7 hours.
And like I said, for those of you who've been following along, we do this out in my outbuilding, and we swam out, and half of the building is full of, well, I have indoor-outdoor carpet for a reason, because sometimes the outdoors comes into the indoors like today, and, well, here we are.
Yeah, but for the first time in about 15 shows, we won't be sitting out there sweating at 157 degrees.
But we're dedicated. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue on the football stuff. It's football season almost. We're getting dadgum close. I can taste it. We're going to go through the American Athletic Conference and the Mountain West / PAC 12, which doesn't exist.
Two teams.
Sort of conference that's, oh, hell, we'll get into it. Come on back in. Let's talk about it. And we welcome you back to the Midnight Riders podcast. I'm Johnny, and I got to get my microphone. You know, you think I'd have this shit lined up every time, because our audio tech still got some work to do. Anyhow, anyhow, here we go. We're going to run down the American Athletic Conference. Now, this is one of the, I mean, we got to do the group of 5, which we've already done 3. And so these are the last 2 of the group of 5. This one's not too bad.
Getting better.
This one's not too bad.
Our other ones were kind of tough to get through.
I mean,
there wasn't a ton to talk about.
There really wasn't.
Very top heavy. But the top heavy in this one's gone. SMU took off to the ACC and.
Yeah. Now something I did notice about this, and before we get going, I mean, we'll delve into it as we go. But I mean, man, I've only showed one coaching change in this conference.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is odd.
Yep. And it's at the top team.
I mean,
all going to Tulane.
I mean, all of these other conferences we've talked about, a lot of coaches moving, a lot of transfers in and out. This one, not so much.
Last 2, let's say the last one we did, they didn't have any. They only had 1. This one's only had 1. That's going to change as we go further.
Oh,
that's
sure.
That's where they all change.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, they swapped out the SMU for Army.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. I mean, I think Army.
I'm glad Army's in there. They need to be in there with Navy.
They do.
Perfect.
They do.
I've never understood why they weren't in something together, but
I agree. Yeah, they need to be in there, and they really do. They need to be in there with this group. I wish Air Force would get in there too, get all the military academies together. I love watching Army, Navy, and Air Force play.
Yeah.
I just love watching these guys. Are just first of all, they're dedicated as hell. Just go to do what they do, and then get out there on the football field and do what they do, and knowing what they're going to do after they get off playing football. You know, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
But
anyway, I love their style of football.
Let's start from the end again and work our way up. I'm thinking I'm going to go in reverse order of what I think it's going to look like, and I'm looking at Temple being.
Start at the bottom of this one. That's Temple.
I think Temple's just bless their hearts. I mean,
horrible.
As bad as they were, they've only got I think 5 starters coming back on offense. Only 1, maybe 2 on defense. So. Bless them. They were already bad. But
I was going through because
we got to now we'll go.
Like so much other in some of the other smaller conferences, I had to do some research because I'm not don't follow them very well.
Not an aficionado of the AAC.
I mean, they won 2 games in the AAC the past 2 years. They've been outscored 428 to 253. They struggle.
Well, I mean, they were only averaging 21 points a game. They gave up 35, almost 36 points a game. I mean, they're. I mean, there's a lot of teams in Division One that we all know shouldn't be Division One teams, right? But by the time it's all said and done, and the college gods do what they want to do, and ESPN gets their love children involved, what's going to end up? It's going to be probably just the AC, the Big Ten, the SEC. Will just play each other all the time, then everybody else will play. They'll create another division if they will.
Eventually.
No, you're not saying that.
Temple's got a little. I mean, they got a quarterback from Rutgers that transferred in, so they got 2 or 3 guys competing for that. Their problem is, as usual, is their defense. They returned 3 starters.
Keep going. Henry's trying to jump in my lap. Keep going.
They only returned 3 starters, and I haven't figured out if that's a good or bad thing. Their defense gave up almost 36 points a game last year, so I don't know if it's really a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah,
if they only got 3 starters returning, so they got some rebuilding. They got
well, the thing is though, bless their hearts, they never rebuild.
Right.
They're usually the same thing they are.
Right. And in the day of the portal, if they're going to get transfers in, they're going to get guys from Division II, Division III,
right.
JUCO.
And if they're any good, and if they're any good at all, they'll be gone the next season.
Right. They're going to have to get lucky and have Temple's that one of those teams. They're going to have a good year here or there, as in 5 or 6 wins. But
sure,
running down their schedule.
Their schedule. You got Akron, then you go to you got they open up at Oklahoma. Okay. Oh God.
Yeah.
And then they go to Navy. Then they got Utah State in there, which is not a barn burner, but they're still they still compete. You open up at Oklahoma, then you go to Navy, and then they've got enough.
Coastal Carolina, UConn, they got a shot at a couple games, I'd say at best, but that's about it. If they win 3 games, it's considered success at this point.
And that's very, 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 very true. So all right. So let's, they're one of those teams that a lot of guys like to make a non-conference team because they're never really solid,
right?
And it's just the way it's going to be. So let's move it on. East Carolina Pirates. First of all, everybody knows me. I'm a logo guy. Made all this back here. Awesome team logo. Okay. Love the pirate logo. It's pretty solid, but their football program's not that great.
Right. But they got it. They brought it. They've got some people that are. They got an offense coordinator, John David Baker, coming in from Houston.
Sure.
Got some transfers from Missouri, Michigan State. They've got some guys
that were recruited highly.
They recruited. So
yes, they do.
This team's actually got some. Well, a little bit of talk about it.
Well, what was interesting for me is the fact that there's something about them that these guys that got recruited by the bigs that didn't get to play, and they're going to go down a step to go play with these guys. Why did they get so many?
Right.
What's going on over here? They only returned when I showed 3 or 4, or 1, 2, 3, or 5 starters maybe on offense, 3 or 4 on defense, which means it's another overhaul like Temple.
Right.
But see that. Like Temple, it's one of those teams that just because you don't have any starters come back, who cares? Maybe it's better you don't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So they've got, like I said, this is Jake Garcia from Missouri, Caden Hauser from Michigan State, Chase Sowell from Florida State, Winston Wright coming in. This guy's loaded up on a couple of linemen. He's got his name.
Sure,
has brought in some power conference transfer.
Well, sure,
they got a chance.
But their offense last year only averaged 17 a game, but they only gave up 22.
Right.
They had a great defense. In comparison to this conference, the defense is workable. So if they can score another touchdown per game, hell, they could have a good season. They start out with Norfolk State, which is no big deal. They go to Old Dominion, which they can win, and then they got Appalachian State, which is always a problem. Then they play at Liberty. So but then again, Liberty, like we said in our previous podcast.
Liberty's good in their conference. Outside the conference, it's always a good game, but it's not like they're an unbeatable force.
Yes, well, that's why a lot of the so-called experts are picking them to be the Group of 5 champ winner to go to the playoff because they don't have a schedule.
Right.
So they get a team like East Carolina that's usually got a good defense and usually plays good defense. They might be able to stop a Liberty, and if they do, well, it's going to be a good season.
Right, and they've got. They do. They got a couple of Siobhan Lavelle. This is the cornerback for them. They're talking him going higher up in the draft.
Right.
They got a good defensive squad. I think they only won 2 games last year. I'm looking at them, just kind of looking at the schedule. I was thinking 6, maybe 7, possible. If they get a quarterback and they got enough transfers, it's kind of the Colorado thing. There's a lot of the talk of the transfers in how they could be good here, and here, but it depends on how they play.
You really have
to see
them. Whenever you have all these transfers, I think it's harder for a team to perform. I just really do. Colorado was the epitome of that situation. Yes. I don't care who your coach is. I don't care that he won Super Bowls. I don't care that he. Your coach can only do. I stop. See me stop. See me slam on the brakes. You still got to have the talent. Yeah, you're going to recruit in these big kids. You're going to bring in a lot of transfers, but can they work together as a team? Can they do the team schematic? I got to see.
But the fact that he brought in power conference transfers into a program like East Carolina, and their schedule, like you said, they're going to fire up. With Norfolk State, Old Dominion, Appalachia, they got a chance to really put stuff together before kind of the heart of their schedule happens. So
all right, move on to Charlotte. North Carolina, Charlotte 49ers. Returning 6 starters on offense, only 3 on defense. But there again, you had a defense that gave up 28, 29 points a game. Maybe you need to get new defense.
Again, quarterback Max Brown coming in from Florida, running back Artavius Norton from Iowa State, and none of them but C.J. Stokes from Michigan. Another one of these smaller schools that somehow they're getting these power conference transfers. Well, they're not getting playing time.
Well, they got an offensive tackle coming in. They got a defensive back coming in. They got a good linebacker coming in. They went out and they got some kids.
And this is what we talked about on our other cast. Kids that are in these big power conferences, but they're not getting to play.
Right.
So they're going to go where they can play.
Sure, and they're going to get at it. I mean, their schedule's set up pretty good. I mean, other than the conference games, they're out of conference games. They got 4 of them. Gardner Webb, of course, win that. Now they go to Indiana and they go to North Carolina. Both teams, to me, are unproven. I mean, if then of course they open at James Madison, which is probably a loss. They're either going to win. They could win 3 non-conference games. They could lose all. They could lose 3. I just don't know. I just don't know.
That's another team they averaged only 17 points and gave up only. But they only gave up 28, which isn't great.
Well, but in conference they were only 2 and 6.
Right.
I mean, and so you're playing in the same conference. You made a few wholesale changes on defense. So
that's another huge offensive overhaul with all these new ones coming in. So looking at them, I think I had them down for winning 5.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah. Just because of the weak non-con. In North Carolina, they're going to get popped by that.
Right.
I think they can pull off 4, maybe 5, but that's about as good as we're going to get.
Well, okay. Let's move on to Tulsa.
Oklahoma people.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh, looking offensive coordinator Steve Spurrier Jr. Head coach, Kevin Wilson's still over there. I mean,
well, he just started last year. I think being from Oklahoma, we know about Kevin Wilson. I think they got that and they got Spurrier. I think that potential to grow that.
Well, they've got a good coaching staff.
They've got a good foundation.
They've got a good quality coaching staff. Now, can you take the kids that you can get? I mean, I don't know if they really. I mean, of course, Kirk Francis at quarterback, Watkins at running back. I'm not really sure if they brought in anything new.
They didn't bring back a whole lot, and their biggest issue is that they lost 4 of their 5 offensive linemen, and they gave up almost 34 points a game last year. So they're going to have to overhaul that defense.
Well, they're only going to lose. They've got potential to win 3 out of their 4 non-cons. I mean, they do have OU in there, which they're.
No, they don't pay.
I'm Oklahoma State. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State. Play Oklahoma State, which God only knows what's going to happen in Stillwater.
They could win 30-28, or they could beat 56-0.
We'll get to that in another cast, but I mean they should lose that one. But then they got Northwestern State, they got Arkansas State, they got Louisiana Tech. 2 of those which are on the road.
Should be a win. So.
Should be. They're good enough to win. They're good enough to win 3 out of those 4. And I mean, last year in conference they were only 2 and 6. But have they improved enough?
Right.
I don't know.
And he brought in he brought in 2. I think it was two linebacker transfers. He brought in like about 6 or 7 transfers into the defense, which the defense was horrendous last year. Which is where they needed the overhaul.
Well,
they've got the offensive coaches.
Yeah, and that's what we're finding with a lot of these teams in these lower Group of 5 conferences. Their defense is giving up a lot of points. Their offenses are decent enough. See, I mean, they average 23 points a game in offense, which should be enough to win some games.
Right.
But when your defense is giving up 34 points a game, it's really kind of hard.
Right.
But they improved in their defense. They brought some kids in and went and got defensive players.
Right. They went and got the defense that they knew they needed. In this conference, you make a little bit of a turnaround in a conference like this, you got a shot.
Yes, you do.
Especially with SMU being out of there.
Uh-huh. Florida Atlantic. The Owls.
Oh.
Let's see. What do you got here? 1, only one returning starter listed, and that's their center. Of a team that only went 3-5 in conference, 4-8 overall. You start at Michigan State, then you've got Army, then you got FIU, then you go to Connecticut, then you've got Wagner, then North Texas. I mean, you got, I don't know. They're
again, portal. I mean, where I had to write it down because I couldn't remember because there were so damn many of them.
I know.
Marshall transferred, Cam Fancher. Junior transfer, Tyreek Stark, 6 playmakers, as it's quoted on here. All the receivers are backfield. Florida State, a couple guys from Florida State. I mean, they got like 8 transfers.
Yeah.
That they're talking about possibly starting.
Yeah.
So they've overhauled.
Well, what's interesting to me about this team as I went through, because I know nothing about Florida Atlantic, of course, but you go through it. I mean, they scored 23.8 per game. They only gave up 25.5 per game. And they've got 6 or 7 defensive starters coming back.
Yep.
So they're going to be solid on defense as they were last year. They only won 3 games in conference last year, but they only gave up 25 points a game. So you get a little offense on this team, and this team can win some games. In this conference, last year they go 3-5 in this conference. If you can put some offense together here, add another touchdown to your average, I mean, my God, you can win 7 games here.
And their schedules, I mean, they start with Michigan State. There's your money grab. Then they got Army, Florida International. Hell, they got Wagner and UConn on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good schedule. They're going to lose at Michigan State, but like I say, they competed in this conference last year. It didn't give up many points. They just couldn't get that extra field goal. They couldn't get that. They couldn't get that last-minute touchdown. I mean, their games last year. I mean, 42 to 45, 21 to 24, 20 to 17. I mean,
they lost everything by less than a touchdown.
Yeah, well, I don't know. South Florida kicked the shit out of them. I mean, but I mean, they're a serviceable team that just needs. They get momentum, and I think they can be pretty good. So let's move on to Rice. The other Owls.
You got Rice next, okay.
Rice Owls. And the Florida Atlantic Owls.
Yeah, I think Rice is actually going to, just from what I'm seeing, I'm reading, I think they got a chance to actually make a little bit of noise this year. A little down there.
They can. I mean, being honest with ourselves, anybody in this conference can turn around and have a good one because of, like you said, all the transfers that come in. You don't know how good they're going to assimilate to the product that's already there. I mean, you got
the quarterback they got coming in has potential.
Well, the coaching staff, the head coach's been there for 6 years, 5, 6 years, whatever it is, and so he knows what he's doing. He knows his system. He knows he knows who go to get into his system. So the portal is this big thing that you go out there and you find what you can. Okay, but I think these guys that have been coaching 5, 6, 7 years in the same team, they know exactly what they're going to look for. And the way this portal's working, hell, there's film on every kid that you want to talk to.
Exactly.
And so you can go out there and find what you want. I mean, they have a potential. I mean, they gave up 28 a game. They scored 29 a game. 4-4 in conference. I mean, 6-7 overall. They can. I mean, they can.
Yeah, I had them down. I think I had them down for like winning 8. I mean, the quarterback they got is probably this. Looking and seeing probably the second best quarterback in the conference, the C.J. Warner guy, but they'll put points up. Their problem's going to be stopping them. I think they got the offensive weapons. Well, I mean, conference especially, they struggle stopping people.
Well, they got 7 guys coming back on defense, 7 starters. Yeah, they gave up 28 a game, but they also added some stuff on the portal. They got a shot. They got a shot to be better.
And I continue to be impressed with teams like this who are able to grab. That's the one good thing about the portal that I can see is these guys who are on the power conferences who play. They get to come down here and show what they can do. So
North Texas State, the mean green. Oh, you got Coach Morris over there. Eric Morris, he's been there 1 year. They were 5-7 last year, 3-5 in conference. Only got a couple of offensive starters, 6 or 7 defensive starters. The defense gave up 37, but they scored 34. So this is one of those teams that's explosive both ways.
Right, and they brought in Chandler Morris at quarterback.
Yeah,
which I don't know how he ends up at TCU at
North Texas
from TCU, other than their close proximity. So he's a Texas kid.
Oh, he's a Texas kid. He probably doesn't want to go too far from home.
So they're not going to suffer offensively. That's for sure. But they got to figure out some way to stop people. Good Lord, their defense was horrible.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you look at their schedule, I mean, Louisiana. This is last year. Louisiana Tech, Abilene, FIU, Temple, Memphis, UAB all scored over 40 points against them.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to.
And they brought in, I think they brought in, they brought in, I think, 5 or 6 potential starters off the portal for defense. So again, maybe they make the right move.
They could,
but good God, man, they couldn't stop anybody last year.
Well, they're at South Alabama. They got Stephen F. Austin, who they can beat. If they go to Texas Tech, that's liable to be 80 to 75 by the time it's
in Wyoming.
Same thing. They're playing some teams that are just extremely explosive, and they are pretty explosive on offense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just one of those.
I always like watching Texas Tech because they're that team. A higher level than Appalachian State, but they're like that team that you never know. They've always got the potential to beat the big ones. I think that game against Tech, like you said, it could be
it's brutal.
70 to 65, but they could win that game 70 to 65.
Yeah, because Texas Tech still. I mean, we'll look at them later, but I just don't think they got much
Tech
defense.
is still Texas Tech.
Yeah. Alabama, Birmingham. That's right. It's the Blazers. Another coach who's only been there for 1 year. It's Trent Dilfer, though, so got a name.
God, I forgot he was in down there until I was looking at it. I didn't realize that's where he was at. But
another team in this conference that gives up 37 points a game. Score 30 and give up 37.
Trent Dilfer, he's going for score.
Of
he's
course.
Going for the offense.
And you're returning 7 starters. One of them the quarterback, one of them your wide receiver, one of them's a tight end. You got 3 or 4 offensive linemen coming back. So these guys are going to score. What can they do on defense?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they got a transfer from LSU. Monty Goodwin, the running back. The 3 starters coming back from the line, so their offense is still going to be there.
Well, I give these guys an outside chance to do well in this conference, and here's why. I think that they transferred in some defensive players. Now, can they assimilate? I think they can. But here's the deal. Your schedule. You play Alcorn State at home. You play at Louisiana Monroe, who's not anything to speak of. Your other non-conference game is Connecticut. And then you go at Arkansas, which Arkansas's got a good chance to beat them pretty good.
Yeah.
But most of the games they played last year were within a touchdown or 10 points. And so Dilfer's they're going to light up the scoreboard on the offense. If they can just stop people a little bit, they've got a chance to win some games in this conference, especially.
Right. But when you're in that conference, and there's some teams that'll score in that conference, but your average giving up 37 a game.
Mm-hmm.
You better figure something out. These transfers better be. They better get some big transfers in there.
Navy.
I love
the midshipmen. Navy. Last year, 4-4 in conference, 5-7 overall. You never looked for a whole lot from Navy.
Nope. But they got probably one of, if not the best running back, second best running back in the conference, Alex Texa.
Mm-hmm.
They got 3 or 4 guys on their defense. Their defense is stout. They return a bunch off defense. And they got
this is what's interesting to Navy about me is they only gave up 22 points a game, but they only scored 17.
Right.
They've got to create some offense, and they can win some games.
Yep.
And, I didn't look at their trend. Did they transfer any offensive players in?
A few, and then nothing of.
Yeah.
Nothing of big talking about. But most of them are coming in. I mean, they're not going to get much transfers in Navy. I mean, this is not.
Well, you've got 4 starting linemen coming back. My problem with that is apparently they couldn't keep anybody out of the backfield because they only scored 17 points.
Right.
So,
but they returned their defense. They returned their entire secondary.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, we're back. But yeah, Navy. I mean,
they returned 7 starters on defense.
Yeah,
linebacking core. 2 of their 4 defensive backs are already on conference. I mean, defensively, they're going to be fine. I think. In the conference. I'm like, I don't know if they can.
Defense, they're always good. Every year, Navy has a great defense. Every year, Navy has a great defense.
I just don't know if they can score enough.
Got to figure out a way to score. Let's go ahead and look at Army.
First year in.
Yeah, first year in. They got a coach. Their head coach has just been solid as a rock. He's been there for 10 years. A winning record. I mean, 70-55. I mean, they were 6-6 as an independent last year.
They're going to be.
I mean, did you look at their schedule?
Yeah.
I think
They got a shot.
I think. Well, I mean, they got to go to Notre Dame, which is okay. They'll play Notre Dame. But it's kind of a neutral site. They're playing in the Bronx.
Right. I'm
but,
sorry. That's not like an automatic loss.
No, it's not.
That's not.
It's not. I mean, they got.
Jeff Monken's their coach.
The non-conference games they have are winnable. Even Notre Dame. That's right. I said it. Even Notre Dame, and if they play as well as I think they can play, I think they got a shot to actually win this conference.
They got an outside shot.
I'm putting it out there.
They do have an outside shot. I like their head coach. But Monken.
Well, he's been there for 10 years. He's doing something right.
Jeff Monken's always been a good offensive coach.
Yep.
But they've won 6 games in 7 of the last 8 years, which was a good thing for Army. I was looking for them. I had them down for winning like 9 games this year, maybe 10. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Potential.
They got that potential because
they'll go through those first. I mean, hell, you're looking at them more than likely being 6-0, going.
Well,
5 and I don't know.
I think they compete against every team in this conference.
Yeah, I think they can beat Florida Atlantic, which would be a big win.
And by the time they get down at hell, they could actually they could be undefeated when they go play Notre Dame on November 23rd. They could be undefeated. They could. I mean, they only gave up 21 points a game last year. They only scored 20, but you know what? I don't know. There's just everything I've read so much on all this stuff here, but what I'm reading on these guys, I think they have potential. I really do.
I would hope so, and I'm hoping Navy has a decent year, like what we're talking about. Because I'd really like for that Army-Navy game in December at the end of the year to really mean something.
Never does.
I know,
but it's fun to watch.
It'd be fun to watch, though.
Texas, San Antonio, the Roadrunners. If you don't like the name University of Texas, the San Antonio Roadrunners, you're not a college football fan. They Road Runners. Great logo. Love them. Love the name. And actually, they're going to be pretty good.
They're going to be good this year.
They're going to be pretty good. I mean, last year they were 7-1 in conference. They were 9-4 overall. They're returning 5 or 6 offensive starters, 5 or 6 defensive starters. These guys play hard. The coaches got them rocking. I think it's Jeff Traylor. Yes, Traylor.
Yep.
I think everything. I like everything about these guys. Their schedule. They play Texas, but I mean everything else is winnable.
Yep. They got the kid from Colorado transferring in to be quarterback. More than likely, he's competing for the job. Luke McCown.
What do you mean, Deion Sanders' kid transferred out? That doesn't shock me if his kid transferred out. I didn't want to play for him.
No, he can't transfer out. He's got his 14th. He's going to play for him pros.
Oh, that's true.
He's transferring in, which is why he transferred out there because he wasn't going to play. That's old Josh McCown's kid.
No.
There. So they put up almost 32 points a game last year. Again, they return a lot of guys who they say they got some what they call NFL talent.
Well, in this conference, in this conference, there's very few defenses. They got a good defense. I mean, they got a good defense. They had a good defense last year. They had a better offense last year. So these guys can compete, and they got a shot to win this conference.
Look at their schedule. They don't play Tulane. They don't play South Florida.
That's right.
Better teams in this conference.
That's right.
Their schedule is lined up to where they've got a shot.
Their schedule is set to where you start with Kennesaw State, new to Division I. You're at Texas State. I don't even know where Texas State is. Then you play the Longhorns, which they're going to probably get busted pretty good. We can hope they'll lose. We can win.
But that's their money game. But past that,
then you got Houston Christian, wherever that is. Then you got conference. Nice call. Then you've got conference games, and like you say, they don't play the top 2 dogs.
Right.
This is a schedule set up to win a conference.
Yes, I got that. That's who I have actually winning the conference.
Me too. That's who I got winning it. Little spoiler for you there, but here we go.
Yeah.
South Florida.
South Florida was one of those.
Well, they got a coach only been there for a year.
Right.
They're still getting used to each other. They were only 4-4 last year, but everything again. I brought them in this late in the 0 to the top because of all the talk. Everybody's talking about they're turning. They're turning the corner. They're going to be good. This quarterback they got supposed to be
Byron Brown.
Just out of this world.
Look at the points they put up last year.
Well, 32 a game, but they gave up 32 a
game.
But the defense is returning a bunch of starters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starters. So
4 off the offensive line, 4 of their 5 linemen.
Yeah, see, so they're going to score points.
Yes.
You know, we've made fun of some of these other defenses
Yes.
back here. Say they're going to be returning all their starts, but do you really want them coming back?
Right.
I mean, that's saying that in jest. If somebody comes back a second time, they're learning the system. They've got the system down. You'd hope and you think they're going to be a little better. That's the way with all these defenses that are bringing these kids
But
back.
they're bringing in, what, 8 returning starters?
Yeah.
Plus whatever transfers they had
Yeah.
coming in. They beat the hell out of Syracuse at the end of the year last year. With
Yep.
45 to nothing. So
Yeah.
they finished on a good thing. They're going to be good.
They're going to be really good. You know, it was between them. Well, see, them, of course, Memphis, and UTSA. It was tough. It was tough. I had Texas. Still got Texas San Antonio winning this thing. But we'll get to Memphis here in a minute. But here's Tulane. And the thing about Tulane, I wanted to get to these guys. I got them number 2 working our way up on this just because of all the stuff I've read, all the so-called experts that have chosen them to be in the top 2 or 3 of this conference.
Yes.
I mean, they got a non-conference schedule. They play Kansas State. They play Oklahoma. They go to Louisiana. I mean, they could go into conference play 2 and 2.
Yo, easily.
They could go into conference play 1 and 3, and then they're depleted.
And they're the one team with the new head coach.
Yep.
But they got an Oregon transfer, a couple Oregon transfers,
right?
To trying to compete with quarterback. They got Mekhi Hughes, which is probably the best running back in the conference.
Yep.
They got the best tight end in the conference. They got a couple good defensive. I mean, they're a good squad. They only gave up 20 a game.
Yeah.
20 a game last year.
Yeah.
They're good, but like I said, that schedule.
The schedule's a monster.
They're going to have to rely on the conference.
Well, I mean, they do get Kansas State at home, which is, I mean, Kansas State's. We'll get to them when we do the Big 12. But Kansas State's a pretty good ball club, and they're not going to go in there thinking, "Oh, this is just Tulane." They're going to go in there and try to kick their ass.
Yeah.
And Tulane, then they got to go to Oklahoma, which
they go back to back.
They back to back, and it's just not going to be pleasant for them the first 3 or 4 games.
Well, it shouldn't be, but again, we'll talk about it here later. Where it's over stacking up. I mean,
yeah.
Tulane gives everybody in all the big boys struggle with Tulane. It seems every year.
Yeah.
It happens.
And the number 1 team, which all the experts so-called throw together and you do all the balance and whatnot, are saying Memphis is going to be the team, 6-2 in conference, 10-3 last year.
It's mainly because of the quarterback. That's Seth Hennigan's. He's like up for every award. He's like supposed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. So we'll see.
And they're returning a tight end. They're returning 2 wide receivers. So he's still got the same offense he had. They scored 40 points a game last year. I mean, they only gave up 28. I mean, all the numbers point in the right direction.
They got to be able. The defense has got to get better. They still gave up 29.
Yes.
So they're going to have to get better in this conference.
Yes.
This conference puts points up. So
this conference puts up a lot of points. And so they've got, I mean, their non-conference, you got North Alabama, winnable. Troy, win. At Florida State, which is a problem. I mean, can they win it? Yeah. Can they beat Florida State? Absolutely.
Could. Like I said, they've got everything I've offensive player of the year. I mean, it's already Seth Hennigan. They've already pretty much made him that.
Yeah, they've already crowned him.
Yeah, Kermonte Hamilton is potentially the defensive player of the year, their edge rusher. And so they got 2 or 3 of the best players, and supposedly best players in the conference. So they're going to be tough. I have them second. So I have UTSA winning, then second, South Florida third. But
yeah, I got Memphis.
It could go either way.
I got Memphis second, and I got South Florida third. I got Tulane fourth because of their schedule. I mean, I just think Tulane's going to be just demoralized after they go through that non-conference schedule. But then again, that may build them up to where they win the conference. They sweep the conference and still have those 2 losses sitting at the end of the year,
right? Which
is fine.
I had Army and Tulane. I had Army going 4 and Tulane 5. Yeah. That's just wishful thinking for me. I think Army's going to be good.
Yeah,
I like that.
But there's the AAC. We're going to take a short break here, get our wits about us, get everything lined up. We're going to come back and do the Mountain West and the PAC 2.
Yeah, you want 2. Both.
Why they didn't take? Oh hell, we'll get into that here in a minute. So we'll be right back, and we're back. Quick little break there. We're get ready for the Mountain West Conference, which is going to be. I mean, it could be competitive. I mean, there's some teams in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some teams in there that can blow and go, but
it's decent.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of coaches. I mean, man, I count at least five new
something like that.
At least 5 new coaches, which makes me wonder why. I mean, I don't know.
That's another one of those conferences, though, that they, for the most part, I mean, there's a couple of exceptions to the rules, not many, but they put up points.
Oh,
Those
God,
conferences
yeah.
will put up points. They're fun to watch.
Well, I mean, let's just start it off with New Mexico. They only won 2 last year. I don't really see them winning many more than that this year. They haven't improved much from what I see. They don't have hardly any starters coming back.
No.
So they're going to have to start all over.
They scored 27 a game, which is fine and cool. That's awesome. They gave up 35.
Yeah, you give up 35.
So
this is one of the new coaches. Bronco Mendenhall is going to be over there.
Which good name. So hopefully that name might bring in some people. But
my God, they go to Arizona, they go to Auburn, and bless their heart. They're just going to be, unfortunately, again, probably the bottom feeder of this conference. Yeah. They just don't have anything.
I said they gave up 35 a game, but they gave up 38 a game in conference.
Yeah.
So,
wow. And
he brought in a bunch of transfers.
He did.
Well, revamp the defense.
Well, he needed to.
You gotta hope.
There's nothing there.
You just got to hope. There's not a whole lot to talk about or a whole lot to say about them.
Let's move on to Nevada.
They cross your fingers and hope they improve.
Yeah. Let's just move to Nevada. Now, Nevada, again, they were only 2-6 last year. They got the returning quarterback. They got Brandon Lewis coming back. Sean Dollars coming back. They were decent.
The coach they got, though, is Jeff Choate.
Yeah.
He was like one of the hot prospects out there and the top guy, one of the top guys out there.
Yeah.
This is a good move for him.
I get it, but I didn't look at their transfer. Did they get any transfers?
They got a few, and they needed to. This is the exception to the rule. They only averaged 17 points a game.
Yeah, then they gave up.
Team that didn't score.
And they gave up 33. So they needed to make some moves. Get your head coach number one. There you go. Now, if he's going to bring in a new offensive scheme and bring in some good kids that can play his brand of ball,
right?
I got to take a step back. We're blowing through these things pretty fast. There's a bunch of them. We got a lot to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But whenever these coaches go out there and get transfers and bring them in, I don't care what level you are. I don't care if you're Georgia or Kennesaw State. The thing about it is can the guys you bring in move into your system?
Right.
Not only that, but as a new coach, and we saw this here in Oklahoma with Venables. When Venables came in, I thought it was the greatest hire in a long time. As an OSU fan, I always wanted Venables to come be Gundy's replacement if he ever leaves, which probably won't, but it won't be that. But here's the thing about it is, Venables came in and this is going to be great. Venables is a great football guy. Of course he is. But he goes out and he brings in some recruits, and that's fantastic. But the kids that are already on the roster really weren't brought in to play a Venables style of defense.
Right.
And so, therefore, their first season was pretty brutal. Right. And same thing here. You're going to bring in some new kids. You got a new coach. You gave up 33 points a game, but can the kids that are there work your system?
Mm-hmm.
So, being a new coach and everything, it's just hard.
Yeah. Well, you asked, so here it is. Offensively, he brought in transfer running back Pat Garrow from Boston College, receiver Cortez Brown from West Virginia.
Okay.
Defensively, two defensive backs. One, Kyton Crawford from Texas. Defensive end. Can't pronounce the name, but it's from California. Caden Johnson from Wisconsin. A couple defensive ends, couple defensive backs, a linebacker, a running back.
Okay, so he goes
our conference.
He went out and brought in some good athletes
because of his name and who he was.
Brought in good defensive athletes. Now, can you make it happen? You got your quarterback back, you got your running back back. Now, those two guys are going to be easy to learn the new system because they've been in college football. They know how to do it. They can learn this. Now, you bring in other kids in, so you're going to have the everybody's coming in and learning a new system.
Right.
But you got two guys who played together. I don't know.
And again, you go back to the coach thing. Yeah, he was one of the big gets up there, but he came from Montana State.
Yeah.
Which they want, But he's an assistant. He's been an assistant at Boise. He's been an assistant at Texas. So this guy has the name. He'll bring in some players. So I think Nevada's got a chance to be one of those surprise teams. Their schedule's not that stacked.
No.
They start with SMU, which is a tough start. But Troy, Georgia Southern, Minnesota, which is winnable, Eastern Washington.
Well, it's a good schedule. In conference is what's going to take for them.
I said they won 2 games. I look at them to win 5 or 6 this year. They got a shot to do a little bit of damage. So not much, but a little bit.
San Jose State, first-year coach again. I can't pronounce his last name. I apologize.
It's going
to
to sound like something we probably shouldn't say, I guess. I don't know.
Niema Talano.
There you go.
I don't know. He's got good history.
Yeah, he's good, but I think they're going. I mean, they had a good season last year, finishing 6-2 in conference.
Well, yeah,
7-6
but
overall.
they only got 2 starters coming back.
But they're going. Yeah,
they got an offensive lineman and a wide receiver. Everybody else is new.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a dip down this year.
You know,
they got a defensive end that's a top.
No, they're only. I mean, they're only 2. I mean, if you want to call them tough, they opened up with Sacramento State, which is a D2 school, I guess, and Kennesaw State, who used to be a D2 school. This is their first year in D1. Then they go to Air Force and they go to Washington State. So, but Air Force and Washington State, I mean, they're going to be competitive with them. But how quickly can they turn it on?
Let's see, what I don't understand is the head coach. I was reading up on him. I didn't know much about him because he was at Navy, and they ran the option at Navy, of course.
Yeah,
an option and the runs. But he's saying he's going to bring a different style. So you're bringing in a head coach who's been known to do this. Now he's coming in here and he's bringing in a different style.
Well, is he bringing a new coordinator?
Yeah.
I
mean, he's got guys from Hawaii, Texas State, Washington State, some assistants coming in. He's bringing in a whole new. And he's trying to change everything.
It's going to take a couple.
Which could be good, but yeah,
it's going to take a couple seasons to get it going. So let's go to Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors.
This is one more side note. I mean, they're bringing in a transfer quarterback from Oregon. Since Dylan Gabriel went here, this Jay Butterfield guy went there. So it's a quarterback from Oregon, so they got a chance to, if he can run his kind of offense and see what he can do with it. So I'm going to be interested to watch them.
They'll be fun to watch. See how it works. Hawaii, 3-5 in conference. Hawaii, I always feel bad for Hawaii.
I do, but I always love watching them because you can always watch them at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, well, the thing about that, the travel just kills these kids.
Oh yeah.
You know, they got to come all the way in for these flights just to come in. It's got to wear them out.
Yeah.
It's got to wear them down. I mean, yeah, you get to play in Hawaii, but they can't recruit. I mean, nobody wants to go to play in Hawaii. It's fun, but you don't want to live there and play there all the time because you're so far away from family. It's just.
Right. But I mean, the coach is Timmy Chang. They struggled a couple years ago, but they went from 3-10 in 22 to 5-8 last year. And their offense has gotten better and better. The problem again, like it's always been, it seems like it's always been with Hawaii, is their defense. They can't stop a soul. They gave up 32, 33 last year. Gave up 39 sacks.
Well, they always have a decent offense. They've always they always find these big, strong offensive line.
Yeah.
They always find them. They always score points, but they're never able to stop it.
And oddly enough, not a whole lot from what I've read or what I've seen. They don't have a whole lot of transfers coming in from what I've seen.
No.
So they got a defensive coordinator that's changed this year. So hopefully that's going to do something different.
Yeah.
Dennis Thurman, which I didn't read. See, I mean, that's my fault. So I don't see where he came from. But he's changing it up. It's only his second year. They're making improvements. I don't know. I mean, looking at their schedule. Delaware State, then they go to UCLA, Sam Houston, Northern Iowa, and this conference isn't real easy if you don't have a defense that can stop anybody. You're going to take some shots.
Well, the thing about it is let me look at this here. The first 2 games are at home, so there's no travel problem. Then you got to come into the States to go play Sam Houston. Then you go back home to play Northern Iowa.
And that's a haul all down to Sam Houston.
Then you go to San Diego State. Then you go back home for Boise. Then you go to Washington State. Then you come home to Nevada. They usually set their schedule up where they're in the States, then they're not. Then they're in, then they're not. Then they're in, they're not. I mean, by about the 4th or 5th trip, these guys are just depleted. Yeah. They're depleted. So, good luck to you guys. San Diego State.
I actually have them down as being last in the conference. I don't look for them to be.
Well, they play Oregon State. They go to Cal. They go to Central Michigan. Then they got conference. Last year they were 2-6. They don't have any. They've got. Well, they damn near their entire offensive line's coming back.
Yeah.
They only scored 20 points a game, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
They hired Sean Lewis. Was one of supposedly. The old Kent State head coach.
Sure, but you got to give him time to get everything together.
Yeah,
that's the thing about this conference. There's so many new head coaches this year,
and they got a Florida State transfer.
They're all going to have to wait another year before all their shits together, so they can actually see who's going to be able to compete. It's going to. We don't get to watch much of the West of this conference here in Oklahoma because the games are so late at night. Unless you can't sleep one night and you want to watch a football game, then you can watch San Diego State play Wyoming. Okay, then you do. But it's just there's just so much change in this conference because of the coaching and because of all the transfers in and all the transfers out. And
especially with these guys, they have brought in a ton of transfers.
Oh, did they?
Oh my God, yeah. Defensively, which they needed the help, but you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 transfers into the possible to starting, for the defense. All three levels.
Wow.
They've got, I said they got a quarterback, A.J. Duffy, transferring in from Florida State. They've got transfers from Colorado State, West Virginia, Richmond, Eastern Michigan. I mean, this guy dipped into the portal big time to try to start revamping this team.
Well, we'll just sit back and watch and see what happens. Let's move over to Wyoming. Wyoming's always fun to watch. They've always been fun to watch. The thing is, they got a new coach. I mean, last year they only scored 25. They gave up 22.
Which was weird for Wyoming.
Very
weird.
weird.
Usually that team that scores, you can count on them scoring 40 a game.
Well, see, I like their uniforms. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm the brown color uniform guy. I love that brown color.
Yeah.
So it's Wyoming. I mean, they got Whaley's coming back, and they got Alex Brown coming back. Most of their offensive line is coming back.
But Wyoming's pretty steady. They go to a bowl just about. Seems like they go to a bowl every year. They win 6, 7, 8, 9 games every year.
Yeah, but again, you've got a new head coach. Yep. You're going to start all over again.
But did you say, does this coach come from there? Because I know their head coach retired.
This is Jay Sawville. I don't know where he comes from.
Yeah. Yep. Defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the kids already
knows the program.
Kids already know him.
Right.
I mean, they've always had a good defense. Here we go. We got a good defense. Now we got to get some offensive.
They're just the opposite in this conference where they'll stop you. They only give up 22, 23 a game. They just can't score.
Well, that's and again,
he's going to bring it.
I couldn't get a lot on this conference. It just didn't. Some of the other conferences, you could kind of pick a spoiler. You could kind of pick a surprise winner and all. With this conference, there's so many changes.
Yeah.
It was just hard.
You don't know for sure.
Well, by the time I took all the notes and wrote all this down, you got so much going on.
Right.
Utah State. 4-4 last year, 6-7 overall. You're going to USC. You go to Temple. You play Utah at home, which is going to be pretty good. It's always a barn burner though.
But they only got an interim coach. I mean, they got rid of Blake Anderson, but they defensive coordinator with Nate Dryling said State he's going to be the interim coach. I don't know if he's been made permanent by now or not.
They probably will. I mean, you can't.
They're bringing in over 20 transfers.
Well, of course they are.
They come.
Everybody else is in this conference, so why not? Bring them all in.
I mean, they got Iowa, Utah, Arizona State, Boise. They got a couple from Boise State transferring inside conference. They got,
which always blows my mind.
But they scored 33 a game and gave up 34 a game. Another team in this conference has got to have some defensive play. And then, like you said, there's so much changing. You just don't know.
You don't know.
They could win 10. They could win 3. You don't know because of all the changing.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, they got Jalen Royals, which is one of the best receivers in the conference. So
well,
they've got some offense. They just don't know.
Well, they got the quarterback from Iowa coming in.
Yep.
And
Spencer.
Again. I keep repeating it. Let's just wait and see.
Yep.
I mean, this is Colorado State. 3-5, tied for 8th. I mean,
they struggled last year, and that was kind of odd. Colorado State's another one of those teams that seems like they're always up there. They always surprise somebody.
Well, they're one of those teams that they almost win a lot of games every year. Like they gave up. I mean, last year they gave up 29 a game. They scored 26 a game. I mean, every year they're that type of team. They're a touchdown away from being 9-3. But
they got a good coach. Yeah, Utah, Jay Norvell.
Right.
Which he's improving them, and they got a good quarterback coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They got an All-American receiver, Troy Horton's coming back. They got a couple good running backs coming back. Their line's got 3 or 4 starters coming. So offensively, they're looking pretty good, but.
Well, they lost one of their number 1 receivers, but then again they got a transfer in from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose one, you gain one. You lose one, you gain one. I mean, they've actually got a coach that stayed.
Yep.
So I mean, I think they're a team to watch.
Yep, I got them in the top 3 of this.
Well,
I had them finishing 3rd in this conference.
Well, they start off the year at Texas. Okay, they're going to get drilled, but then they, other than Colorado, which they play every year, the rest of their conference is doable. The rest of their schedule is doable.
Beating Colorado is very doable.
Sure,
they just
sure.
So I like this team. I think this team's got a chance to be pretty good.
Well, I think it's one of those teams that's actually. They got a better chance because they've got some tools coming back. They got the same coach. They got the same system. They've got the same everything. They lose a guy, but they bring in a guy. I think they've got a better chance than most in this conference because of the consistency that they can come into the season with.
Yeah, and I like Norvell. I think they got a shot to win 8, maybe 9 games this year.
Yeah,
my thoughts anyway.
Let's go with Fresno. Fresno State Bulldogs. The Bulldogs.
Fresno State.
I used to referee football here in Oklahoma for many, many years. At the high school level, we'd go to a lot of small towns. And know how many towns are named the Bulldogs? What city was that, honey? Hang on. What city was that where the guy barked on the speakers?
Chandler?
No, it was Washington. Was it Washington?
No, it's Chandler.
Was it Chandler? That's so funny. He was a great announcer. He announced every game. Every time the guys would get, how most stadiums play go music, he'd go. This is great. Out there, good guy. But anyway, hope you're doing well wherever you are. But anyway,
this team, they got probably the best quarterback in the conference, Mikey Keene. They got the best running back in the conference. Well, second best, probably Malik Sherrod. They're going to put us some points.
Yeah.
They've got the.
Well, they did last year. Shit, they scored 30 a game, and they only gave up 23. So and last year they were 4-4. They were 9-4 overall. I mean, they won all their non-conference games, which was they went to Purdue and won that. They went to Arizona State and won that. So this is a team that the Pac-12 was looking to bring in before the Pac-12 dissolved.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There's still 2 teams left.
There's not. They're both out there. Still.
That's right. So I mean, these guys have potential. They're worth watching. They got a 6-year head coach. Yep. They're going to be. I think they got a shot to win the conference. This was my sleeper of this conference right here. Everybody's picking Boise. These guys have potential to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to Michigan, which Michigan's kind of in flux right now. So, can they beat Michigan? Sure, they can. Will they beat Michigan? Probably not.
Right.
But then they got Sacramento State, New Mexico, UNLV, Washington State. They can win. They can win out. They're that good. They're that. I think they got the possibility.
The potential is definitely there for them. I think you're right on that one.
Let's go with Air Force. The Air Force Falcons.
This is my surprise. This is my little whatever. I got them winning.
Do you?
Yep.
Winning the conference?
I think they're good. I think their defense is going to be good enough. They only gave up 18 points a game last year. I think.
Well, I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, all they've got is they got Merrimack, they got Baylor, they've got Oregon State. Oh wow, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Look at that schedule.
Well, they only gave up 18 points a game last year. They still got 4 or 5 starters coming back.
And you've got to be a certain. I mean, they won 9 last year, but that running attack that they still do, continue to run, gives people fits.
Yeah,
always has, always will. It may just be wishful thinking on them because I love the military teams, but I really think as an outside shot, and my surprise there, I think they can win that.
Well, every year Air Force is one of those teams that are fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because you never know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get out there and they'll do some fun things. They're fun to watch. They're consistent.
And most of the time, it's like the old Oklahoma wishbone, Nebraska running game.
Right.
You know what they're going to do most of the time. You still struggle stopping it.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think Air Force got a shot. Their schedule lines up well for them this year, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
What do you got?
Next. I got UNLV. UNLV.
Yep. Runners up last year.
Yeah.
34 points a game and gave up 27. But Barry Odom, they were, I don't know. That was his first year, and boy, he took them to do what nobody really expected them to do.
Yeah. I mean, in their schedule, they go to Houston to start the season. Then they got Utah Tech, whoever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Then they go to Kansas. So they got 2 Big 12 teams to be able to play, both of which are going to be – Houston's probably going to be good. Kansas has got a shot. So I mean, UNLV can surprise some people. I mean, they got 5 or 6 starters coming back on offense. Hell, you got 7 or 8 on defense.
But they lost their quarterback. He transferred over to USC.
That's true.
So, but then they brought in a couple. They got a transfer from Holy Cross and a transfer from Campbell, which, again, we've talked about this. These guys who have that lower level looking for a place to play, and this may be the shot. A guy who puts up this many points. If you're an offensive player, you want to go there. This puts the old. They run the offense that'll actually score points. That's for damn sure.
That's true.
So yeah, they're top 3 or 4, 2. I don't know, top 2, 3, 4 in this conference. So they're gonna. Another one that's going to be fun to watch because they'll put points up.
And Boise, which they get past Oregon, they're going to probably win every game every game.
Well, they got you look at preseason. They got the preseason offensive player of the year, Aston G. They got defensive player of the year, Ahmad Hassani. I pronounce it
right.
I know they won the conference last year. Yeah, all the indicators point to them winning it again.
Well, they got a USC quarterback coming in.
Yep.
I mean. Everything points to them. I mean,
they're the ones that got.
Every year they're good. Everybody.
They got that kid Malachi Nelson. Like I said, the USC guy coming in that was like an all-world everything.
Well, yeah, and this is the team. This is the team that all the conferences say they want to bring in whenever they start talking about expansion. They all want these guys. They're always going to be good. They always recruit well. They always play well. They're always consistent. I mean, their defense is usually pretty good. And what they averaged, gave up 25 last year, scored 32. This team here, I mean, you start out at Georgia Southern, you're going to win that. Then they go to Oregon. If they can somehow squeeze the Oregon game, do something.
I don't see that happening. But
let's say they drop to Oregon. Hell, they're still going to be 10-1.
Yeah, they're only losing.
They're
only losing a couple games.
I don't see them losing anywhere else. I mean, yeah, they play Oregon State. Yes, they play Washington State, but I don't know.
But they're at UNLV though, which will be a tough one.
Right.
They're at Wyoming, which will be a tough one. So there's. I kind of want to see a changing of the guard in this conference. So I'm hoping kind of Air Force or somebody else will step up. I know UNLV gave them a battle last year, but they got Boise won the conference championship 44-20. So at the end of the day, it was same old with it. So
let's talk about what's left of the former Pac-12. Let's go with Washington State and Oregon State. Now these two teams here, it's kind of weird for them this year. I don't know how the playoff committee is going to look at them.
Right.
I mean, they say they're going to probably just make them like a group of 5 team. I mean, they built this sort of alliance with the Mountain West.
Isn't it set up to where every team has to play them?
No. What is set up? Well, it's set up to where they have every for the next year or two, they're going to play 5 or 6 teams out of the Mountain West. Every team doesn't have to play them. I don't think it's not going to be a rotating schedule or anything. But this year, I mean, Oregon State, they go to San Diego State. They've got Colorado State. They got Nevada. They got UNLV. They got San Jose State. They got Air Force. They got Boise. So they still have 4 or 5 other games outside that aren't. It's just going to be a weird setup. They're basically going to be a Mountain West team.
Sure.
Basically, they're going to be a Mountain West team.
They're just keeping all the profits or whatever.
They want. There's money involved here. Otherwise, why do they even keep the Pac-12 name out there?
Right.
Because there's money involved, and so they're probably trying to squeeze a little money out of what's left in the bank after the other guys left, because they all had to pay a fee to jump from conference. So what do they do? I don't know. My opinion, eventually, I think these two teams will join the Mountain West, and they'll create some new conference, whatever they're going to call it. I mean, I think
that's inevitable.
I think they're going to work on the money. They're going to see if the Mountain West is going to bring all these teams, and they're going to bring in, X amount of dollars, and the Pac-12 is going to bring in X amount of dollars. Pac-12 is bringing in more money, but less teams. So how are they going to let these lesser teams get money out of that big? It's just all political.
It's going to be something. That's all it is. It's money. Another, like I said before, a money grab that they got to get stuff on.
Well, I mean, last year Washington State was 5-7. Oregon State was 8-5. Yeah. Now, I think they're both going to be actually better than that, because they're going to be playing mostly Mountain West teams, which they are in a roundabout way better than. I mean, you look at Oregon State; they're bringing 2 starters back on offense. They're bringing 2 starters back on defense. But their quarterback McCoy, he's coming in. He's transferring.
Right.
It's just so hard to say anything, because they got a new coach in Trent Bray. Washington State's got a guy, a coach who's been there for 3 years, Jake Dickert. I mean, you got. I just.
They're two teams that are in limbo. Like you just don't.
They're
know.
two teams that are about the same team. They're
Right.
about the same team. They're about the same level. Nobody wanted. They did no. I don't even know if they even tried to go out there and find
I
a
don't know.
place to
I
play.
think the word was out there on some of it. I don't know if they ever really
Yeah.
pursued anything because they were wanting to stick around because there's money out there.
Well,
that
my-
they're grabbing.
Well, my deal is that grouping all this together. If you look at this whole thing as we've listed here as a conference, if these two guys were to join the rest of this conference, how would I be picking them this year? I think I would still go with. I'd still go. I think. I still think Boise would win the conference. I think Oregon State would finish second. Washington State
Think so?
maybe. Well, yeah, Washington State maybe further down the road. I just think it's going to tell us a lot throughout the season. Most of their schedule is going to be in the Mountain West. We'll see how they compete. If they win all the Mountain West games, well, then maybe the talks will stop.
Yeah.
If they compete in their, I don't know, maybe they win 70% of the
Oregon
games.
State,
I don't know.
Oregon State goes to San Diego State, then Oregon, then Purdue, then Colorado State. They've got a little,
Sure.
decently tough little
Sure.
stretch there. It's going to tell a whole lot if they're worth a damn or not.
Sure.
So,
But last year they still had a pretty tough schedule. They were still 8-5.
right.
They still won 8 games, but they played a Pac-12 schedule. They didn't play a Mountain West schedule.
Exactly.
So I think the Mountain West, of course. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in there that I can say is an Arizona or a Utah or a USC or a UCLA, and so
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see how it happens.
Right.
I want to see how these two teams do in a Mountain West Conference schedule for the most part,
yeah.
and just see what happens.
Just like everything else that's coming up in this season, that so many questions out there. I just want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I want to see how
Right. This is one of those.
how they're talked about.
This is one of those things we're
Yeah.
just going to figure out.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're done with these two. We appreciate you coming in and stopping by. We're going to continue with the other conferences as we get closer to kickoff. Subscribe, like, share. Let everybody know we're talking football because we love to have some comments down here about what you think about any of the conference stuff we're throwing out there. Let us know if we got it wrong, which, don't, for God's sakes, don't go gamble on what I say. But if you think it's wrong, let us know it's wrong. Let us know what you think is right, and we'll go from there.
We're getting ready to get into the power conferences now, so stay tuned. The Big Four coming up.
Big Four coming up. We'll go one at a time. We'll probably
Yeah.
start. I'd say we'll probably start with the ACC.
And we're slowly approaching our episode number 50, by the way. So
Hey, big 5-0.
There
I
we
like
go.
5-0. 5-0. Book 'em. Hey,
There
book
we
'em,
go.
Dano. Anyway, appreciate you coming in. You got anything else, Chuck?
Nope.
All right, we're going to cut it out here. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.